What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday, we did have that Nintendo Direct that ran for about 40 minutes, and there were some surprise announcements in there, as well as one big reveal at the end that certainly brought a lot of relief to fans. We're going to go over all of the bigger announcements in that Direct here today. Also, we're going to be talking about two new additions to Nintendo Switch Online. It's also bringing two new controllers to the service, and we're also going to be talking about an interesting partnership for Microsoft's new studio, The Initiative. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton, and if new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep update with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with that Blockbuster sale that we had heard earlier in the week was going to be happening here as we went along, and it is now live on Nintendo's deals page. But I did notice there weren't any first-party games from Nintendo there as we had originally thought based on a report coming from Nintendo Life. However, that was for Europe, and it may be a bit different here for what we're getting, for example, in the US. But we can see this over on their deals page starting at the top, the Blockbuster sale. It's running until October 3rd, and we can go through a few of the sales here, which includes Monster Hunter Rise at $50, Hades at $17.50. Always a good sale when Hades is marked down. Certainly worth picking up at that price. Unravel 2 at $10, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition at $36, Metro 2033 Redux at $8.75, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon at $5, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 at $30, Persona 5 Strikers at $36, and BioShock Collection at $20. Now, there are still several other games that are on sale here, certainly worth checking out. I'll leave a link down below in the sources to their deals page so you can check it out for yourself. Also, during the Direct, we had this section where Miyamoto came on screen and started talking about that Mario movie that's going to be coming out next year, and he started going over the cast of voice actors. And it was a little strange and surprising based on the people they were talking about here. We can see this tweet, this from Nintendo of Europe, just kind of laying out all the people who will be voicing different roles in this movie. We can see Chris Pratt, who is going to be voicing Mario. Now, immediately I saw that, and I have no idea how this movie is going to go down exactly, but having Chris Pratt as the voice of Mario it's going to be something to see. I'll say that. Charlie Day is going to be Luigi. Jack Black is going to be Bowser, and we have Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. So I was trying to envision a 90-minute Super Mario movie that's going to have an entire plot from start to finish, and I guess just be interesting, or at least keep you engaged throughout. And now I'm hearing about all these voice actors. I almost just want to see how this is going to turn out, just with all these different people voicing these characters from the Mario universe. It's certainly not what I was expecting when we first heard about this movie, but well, now I can't wait to see the first trailer. Oh, and there were several reports that had popped up earlier in the week around Titanfall 3, at least people's hopes that it was in the works after that NVIDIA leak. However, there were some sources that were saying that no, there is no Titanfall 3, Respawn's not working on it. Well, it looks like Respawn themselves wanted to comment on it. We can see this over on Twitter, where they say, contrary to what some folks are reporting, Titanfall is the very core of our DNA. Who knows what the future holds? I wonder if that means that we could see a Titanfall 3. It's been long speculated on that we would see another entry in the Titanfall series. Doesn't necessarily mean that it would be called Titanfall 3, but I do believe Titanfall 2, well, it was kind of left out to dry, right? It was like right between Battlefield and Call of Duty, and even though it was, I'll say it now, the best game that holiday when it came to first-person shooters, it was left behind. It just got overshadowed by Call of Duty and Battlefield. I mean, the campaign is phenomenal in that game, and everyone should give it a try. It's not even a long campaign, and it is action-packed throughout, and it's on like Game Pass or otherwise. It's usually on sale for $5 or less. So certainly worth checking out, and yes, I am crossing my fingers for a Titanfall 3 someday. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with that Nintendo Direct that aired yesterday. Like I said, it was about 40 minutes long and had a pretty solid lineup of games. I noticed there wasn't anything really hard-hitting, nothing like over-the-top surprising necessarily, like a brand new 3D Mario game, something like that. But the list of games they had there were pretty good, and I did also ask for the poll question later on, a letter grade, so if you did not vote on that, go ahead and kind kind of come up with your own letter as we head towards the end of the show. But we'll start here at the top with the Nintendo Direct with Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. This is an expansion that will be coming out summer 2022. Makes sense. Monster Hunter Rise is extremely successful for Capcom, so naturally they want to build on top of that, as they have done with things like Monster Hunter World. So look forward to more information, I'm sure, about that one as we head into summer next year. They went ahead and put another spotlight on Mario Party Superstars that's coming out next month. Then it looks like it's going to be a very fun Mario Party, because obviously they're tapping into the boards from way back in the day on the Nintendo 64 that many of us remember very fondly. Voice of Cars was shown by Square Enix, coming out October 28th. Then we had Disco Elysium, that coming out October 12th, and they let us know that there's a physical copy coming early 2022, so I guess if you really want a physical copy and you can hold out, just wait until sometime first half of next year, I guess. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity DLC was shown, or I guess just another part of that expansion pass. Then we had Chocobo GP. It's coming out 2022, and it looks like Final Fantasy Kart. I mean, seriously, even like the perspective when you were driving around reminded me very much of Mario Kart. The final Smash character reveal. That will take place October 5th. And this appears to be the last Sakurai presents. He seems to enjoy them. He'll really kind of just go off the cuff and start talking about the history of certain franchises that they're bringing in. I do believe that Sakurai enjoys at least putting them together, because he'll kind of hang out and show even the smallest mechanics and moves for different characters that clearly him and his team and everyone working on this game spent a lot of time putting together. So it'll be interesting to see what the final character is and if it can live up to the hype as to being potentially the last Smash character that Sakurai ever presents. And then we had something that was a bit surprising, and I was very happy to see this one. That's Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Now, this is coming out spring 2022, and it does appear that they are taking the Kirby franchise in a brand new direction. It looks like this is going to be a big open world style 3D Kirby game. And I've made fun of Kirby for a little while now because they did sort of fall into this rut where they were making, I thought, very safe Kirby games. Kirby Star Allies is a game that I just don't think a lot of people remember because it was a very safe entry in the Kirby franchise. Another 2D Kirby game. Sure, it was fun for Kirby fans, but I know a lot of people were thinking, what could Kirby end up being if it was like a Mario Odyssey style game, right? That looks to be what they are doing here, and I'm very happy to see it. I'll be looking forward to this one as we head into next year, spring 2022. Animal Crossing is getting a direct next month for free content that is coming out in November, so it must be a fairly large amount of content if they're going to have an entire direct for Animal Crossing. They did talk about Mario Golf getting an update, that being Koopa Troopa and Ninja with 2 new courses. That was actually released yesterday. Disney Magical World 2 was shown. Then we had Knights of the Old Republic. This is the original Knights of the Old Republic, not the remake or anything coming out, years from now. This one is releasing November 11th. Phenomenal game. I assume most of you have already played it, but if you have not, you might as well take a look at this one. This is being done by Aspyr, and it's not surprising necessarily to hear about this because they've ported this game to mobile phones, so sure, why not just move it to the Switch as well? And then we got into Dying Light. All right, so they showed Dying Light 2 first, and I was a little surprised when I saw it because I was like, they're getting Dying Light 2 on the Switch? Then they showed that it's Dying Light 2 Cloud Edition. So think of what we've seen with Control or Hitman. It's just going to be streamed to the Switch. That's coming out February 4th. However, just to make things a bit confusing, Dying Light Platinum Edition will not be a cloud game. That will be played natively on the Switch. That's coming out October 19th, so next month. That had leaked out previously, and we were just waiting for an official release date. So there we go there. Triangle Strategy. It appears they dropped Project. It's just called Triangle Strategy now. Still, I don't think it's the greatest name, but that's what they're going with. That's coming out March 4th. At least the game itself looks amazing, so it has that. Maybe the title isn't the greatest, but the game is at least compelling enough. Metroid Dread was shown for an extended period of time, and why not? We got to make sure it gets over 3 million copies sold so I can hear about the ending to Balan Wonderworld from Sean. Yeah, Metroid Dread looks better and better every time they show it. I'm just ready to pick it up in a couple of weeks now. Shadowrun Trilogy, this was all shown during a sizzle reel, along with Castlevania Advance Collection. That is out today, and it appears that Konami did not mess this up. In fact, they did better than I thought they would. They threw in Dracula X, so it's actually 4 games in here, and it's $20. And it's out now. Like, you can just go pick it up. And this is shown on the Switch, of course, during the Direct. I believe it's going to other platforms as well, and I'll look into that. But $20 for this collection is phenomenal, and everyone should be picking it up. I also noticed that there is a physical copy on PlayAsia. I'm going to look into that one myself as well, because I would like to have this as a physical piece for the collection. And just to make sure we had our out of left field announcement, ActRaiser Renaissance. This is a remake of ActRaiser from the Super Nintendo, and it's already out. I guess I'll look into reviews on that one. I was not expecting anything like that. Deltarune Chapter 2 is a free update to Deltarune Chapter 1 on the Switch, and then we went into Splatoon 3. They weren't ready to give us a release date for this, just really doubled down on 2022, showed more gameplay of it, some of the single player, some of the multiplayer, and some new mechanics and features they were adding in. And yeah, if you're a Splatoon fan, you were probably really excited to see this one. I enjoyed Splatoon 2. I'm sure I will have fun casually playing Splatoon 3 as well. And then we went into the final announcement. And this was the big one because I said leading up to this show, Bayonetta 3 pretty much has to be shown here. If they don't show Bayonetta 3 here, that means they won't be talking about it until the earliest 2022, which means it would have gone a full 5 years from its initial trailer to finally showing the game. But they ended things out and they did show it, and they did this little fake out. I almost thought it was gonna be Astral Chain 2 there for a second, and that would have been madness if they were gonna introduce Astral Chain 2 before even showing Bayonetta 3 at all. But they did go into gameplay for it, which is a great move, because if it's been this long, we would expect to see actual tangible gameplay for this game, and it looks very good. I mean, the gameplay itself looks like Bayonetta. They went into like this massive like Godzilla creature battle, or these massive creatures fighting in like the city landscape, and it is coming out in 2022. And overall, looking at the Direct, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it was just mostly solid. Like I said, there wasn't a massive announcement that really like exploded the internet. If there was, for example, a Smash character shown here, and then the Sakurai Presents was announced to go over the character and say it was Sora or Goku or Master Chief, yeah, that probably would have put this Direct over the edge, I would say, for most people. But kind of looking at it, it was just solid. If I had to put a letter grade on it, I'd give it probably a B for the most part. Like I said, nothing really jumped out, like at me anyway, but I do view it as being a solid collection of announcements to kind of lead into the start of 2022 for Nintendo. Next up, let's talk about Nintendo Switch Online with 2 new systems heading to the platform. And I wanted to break this off onto its own section because there's a whole other collection of games to go over here. But first, let's start with this tweet from Nintendo where they say, play a selection of Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games with Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. And I mean, that's pretty good marketing, bringing back the expansion pack name for what is essentially a higher price tier. So we're gonna have Nintendo Switch Online, and then we're gonna have this expansion pack, or I guess this premium tier that will have Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis games included. We're trying to figure out how much more it's gonna cost. They didn't really go into it. And I guess they didn't wanna just say, hey, it's gonna be $40 or something. I'm kind of thinking it's gonna be $10 more, so we're gonna have a $20 tier and then a $30 tier, and they did mention that you can just upgrade directly to it, and I assume pay the difference for any amount you've already paid with your year. So let's take a look at the games that they will be adding initially, starting with the Nintendo 64. We can see Super Mario 64, then we have Mario Kart 64, Star Fox 64, Yoshi's Story, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Winback, which is that weird game that I said they would throw into this whole thing during the Spawn cast this past Saturday, Mario Tennis, Dr. Mario 64, and Sin and Punishments. That's just pretty cool to throw that one in there. Now, they did also go over the Sega Genesis games, and the lineup is pretty good for this. I mean, they have Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra Hardcore, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Echo the Dolphin, Golden Axe, Gunstar Heroes. That one would be pretty fun with online play. Musha, which, if I remember right, is a pretty rare game. Phantasy Star 4, Rystar, Shining Force, Shinobi 3, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Streets of Rage 2, and Strider. Now, they also decided to confirm future Nintendo 64 games, which was odd, but sure, why not? They had Banjo-Kazooie, Pokemon Snap, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Kirby 64, Mario Golf, Paper Mario, and F-Zero X. So this means that we'll be able to play F-Zero X online with other people for Nintendo 64. That's actually pretty cool. And having the addition of Paper Mario and Majora's Mask already announced, as well as what appears to be a partnership between Nintendo and Microsoft for Rare, since Banjo-Kazooie will be part of this, that does make you wonder maybe what else they could get from the Rare lineup. Could we someday have everything come together and get GoldenEye on this service with online multiplayer? Also, as expected, there are new controllers that you can pick up. I assume this is going to work similar to what the NES and the SNES controllers did, where you have to buy through the website if you are a Nintendo Switch Online member. We have the Nintendo 64 controller and what appears to be the 3-button Genesis controller. However, it appears in Japan they will be getting the 6-button controller. No idea why they are not doing that in the US as well, or in all regions. They just went with a 3-button controller, but sure, why not? The 64 controller is certainly the one that I'm most interested in. These are $50, by the way. That feels kind of expensive for these controllers. I mean, the 64 controller, they're all going to be wireless. And look, we have to see any improvements they have made with that 64 controller, especially that control stick. But I saw 50 and I was a little like, wow, that feels more expensive than it really needs to be. But Nintendo's also probably figuring, yeah, not a ton of people are going to be buying these controllers necessarily. You have to be a Nintendo Switch Online user, and even that, I believe they limited NES and Super Nintendo, at least how many controllers you could buy at once. But I do like the announcement of Nintendo 64 and Genesis. A little let down that we didn't see anything about Game Boy, but we ran the poll. Most people wanted Nintendo 64, and the idea of having online multiplayer for things like Mario Kart 64, games that we have a lot of nostalgia for back in the day, staying up late and doing 4-player split screen, and of course, accusing the other person of screen looking in games like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. So we'll see if those maybe make their way to Nintendo Switch Online. Like I said, these updates now going forward are going to be a lot more fun, a lot more interesting to see what they come up with, but we also have to deal with that higher pricing tier. So let me know what you think about the Nintendo 64 and even Sega Genesis being added here, but at a higher price. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a strange announcement that was made on Twitter last night. I'm really not sure why they made this announcement, but we can take a look here. This from the initiative, Perfect Dark update. We are partnering with Crystal Dynamics, the world-class team behind character-driven games such as Tomb Raider, to bring this first-person spy thriller to a new generation. Probably a good idea, by the way, to not say Crystal Dynamics, the studio that brought us Marvel's Avengers, because do Tomb Raider. That probably makes more sense with Perfect Dark anyway, as they say, a more character-driven game, specifically not ones that are from Marvel and already established necessarily. But either way, the people were looking at this and saying, oh, why do they need help with from Crystal Dynamics? Well, I mean, the head, I believe, at Initiative was from Crystal Dynamics, so maybe it was easier to kind of make that partnership work. And to be honest, looking at the Initiative, I feel like they're still kind of a smaller studio, and they most likely could use support doing something like Perfect Dark, especially if this is a larger game that we're expecting. It was described as quadruple A at one point, so I don't even know what that means, but it sounds like it's a big deal. So yeah, getting a studio to help run support isn't too weird or out there or anything. So I don't believe Crystal Dynamics is gonna come in here and start calling the shots for the story or characters. I feel like it's gonna be kind of like, oh, we need these levels built out. Can you help us with this? Because we don't have necessarily the developers to do that. So it's almost like outsourcing while you're partnering with Crystal Dynamics to make this work. And before we go to the comment today, we're taking a little poll that I posted up yesterday where I asked, give the Nintendo Direct a letter grade. 22% said an A, 50% said a B, 19% said a C, 4% said a D, and 6% said an F. You know what? That's not bad, because that means that 90% of people who voted here, of the 31,000 votes at the time of this recording, says it was at least satisfactory or above average even. And for a Direct, that's pretty good. That means the vast majority of people were satisfied with a Direct. And that almost never happens. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from King saying, man, I was lucky enough to snag a PS5. Even after they ran out of tickets, if you get a ticket, don't leave the line, because they'll give it away as soon as the store opens. You know, I remember something like this when I was waiting in line. This is back when the Wii came out. And they gave tickets. This is at Walmart. So they got to a point where it was a couple hours out. They started just giving out tickets so people would stop waiting in line because we had a massive crowd, right? Way more people than there'd be Wii's. But after they give out tickets, most of the people didn't leave. I think a couple did, but everyone kind of hung out. And I was trying to figure out why that is because, like, they've already accounted for it. And it makes sense because if someone with a ticket goes up to buy a Wii or a PS5 or an Xbox or something, and they're unable to due to like a card getting declined or not having the funds to do it like on hand, they just move on to someone else. And I watched that happen. So yeah, if you're at one of these lines to buy a PS5 or an Xbox or a RTX 3080, kind of hang out even if you don't get a ticket because you never know, someone in line may not even be able to buy it then. And ladies and gentlemen, that's good to hear for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was the Nintendo Direct. Let me know what your favorite announcements were there at the show, and were you relieved at the end to see Bayonetta 3 gameplay being shown off? Also, what about Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis heading to Nintendo Switch Online? Let me know, I guess, some games you'd like to see added in the future. And then what about the initiative partnering with Crystal Dynamics and Perfect Dark? Are you a little concerned with this partnership, or you think everything is good and we're going to see that quadruple A game out of the initiative? Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.